Good afternoon and welcome to the RegTech Association's RegTech Edge No Borders program on regulatory compliance. My name is Saket Narayan and I lead the finance and regulation industry at Amazon Web Services, AWS, for Australia, New Zealand and the Oceania region. I also serve on the board of directors for the RTA, and I'm really thrilled to be a host and moderator for this event today. In the spirit of reconciliation, the RegTech Association acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. In acknowledging country, we honor the resilience, wisdom, and innovative spirit of Indigenous communities. Today's session will be recorded and every registered delegate will receive the link. Cameras and mics off, please, unless you are presenting. Thank you. And we ask that any and all questions be asked in the chat, please. Please don't be shy. I will ask our presenters to jump onto the chat to answer the questions directly. There will be some polls that come up now and then. We would appreciate your input as these help us with industry trends and the quality of the programs we run here at the RTA. Now, let me set the scene by sharing an overview of the regulatory landscape as we see here in Australia. I'm sure a lot of what I'll touch on in terms of regulatory priorities apply to other regions outside Australia. You'll see on the slide, whilst the FSI industry has been called out, the reality is a lot of these priorities are cross-sector. So they could very well apply to local government, healthcare, utilities, and other sectors as well. Nathan, next slide, please. And if you click next as well, thank you. So in the interest of time, I have listed just a few of the regulatory priorities. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. I've only been given less than 10 minutes. Operational resilience. There's a lot of focus on operational resilience here in ANZ as well as globally. The Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, APRA, has established the CPS 230 Operational Risk Management Standard. I'm sure many of you in the audience would be across CPS 230. It exists to verify that regulated entities are resilient to operational risks and disruptions. CPS 230 requires regulated financial entities to effectively manage the operational risks, maintain critical operations during disruptions, and manage the risks associated with service providers. At AWS, we launched AWS Workbook for the APRA CPS 230 standard to support our customers as they work to meet applicable CPS 230 requirements. The workbook describes operational resilience, AWS and the shared responsibility model, compliance programs, and relevant AWS services and white papers that relate to regulatory requirement. I have a link to some of the information in the next slide. Nathan, if you go to the next dot point, please. Cybersecurity legislation. Australia's Cybersecurity Act 2024, enacted November 29, 2024, introduces 4 key initiatives as part of the 2023-2030 Australian Cybersecurity Strategy. The legislation mandates minimum security standards for smart devices and requires businesses to report ransomware incidents and ransom payments while establishing a cyber incident review board for analyzing significant incidents. The Act creates a limited use framework through the National Cybersecurity Coordinator to foster better industry-government collaboration following cyber incidents, aligning Australia with international best practices in cybersecurity regulation. Next one, please, Nathan. Climate disclosures. Australia's climate disclosure regulations require large companies and financial institutions to report on climate-related risks and opportunities in line with international standards. From 2025, here we're here now, phased mandatory disclosures will align with the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, TFCD, and International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB frameworks. These regulations aim to enhance transparency, mitigate greenwashing by focusing on quality of disclosures and drive corporate accountability in addressing climate change. Next, please, Nathan. Privacy legislation. With the exponential rise in scams and frauds, it's always prudent to reflect on privacy obligations. Australia's privacy protection is primarily governed by the Privacy Act 1988 and the Australian Privacy Principles, the 13 APPs, which regulate how personal information is handled by government agencies and businesses. The Trusted Digital Identity Framework, TDIF, sets the rules for digital identity services, ensuring secure and privacy-preserving identity verification. And of course, the Department of Finance in Australia is progressing a national economy-wide digital ID system that provides Australians with a voluntary, secure, convenient, and inclusive way of verifying the identity online. And similar initiatives around digital public infrastructure more broadly is in flight across many, many jurisdictions. Next, please. Digital assets. Global digital asset regulation remains fragmented to some degree, with different jurisdictions taking varied approaches. Key focus areas, however, though, globally include consumer protection, anti-money laundering (AML), market integrity, and stablecoin regulation, with increasing emphasis on central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Next one, please, Nathan. AML CTF. So from 31st March 2026, this is as per the information from AUSTRAC, new services and entities will begin coming under AUSTRAC regulation following reforms to anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing AML CTF laws. The reformed laws also impact current reporting entities here in Australia. The laws reform Australia's AML CTF regime to ensure it can more effectively deter, detect, and disrupt money laundering and terrorism financing, as well as meet international standards. Next, please. And scams legislation, of course. I'm sure we all know someone who has unfortunately been a victim of a scam. Yes, scams are increasingly being referred to as a pandemic, given the commonality of symptoms, the scam victims, and the losses experienced around the world. So in the last 5 years, over $10 billion has been lost to scammers in Australia alone, with over $2 billion reported loss in 2024, according to the ACCC Scams report. Globally, trillions of dollars have been lost to frauds and scams. And on the 13th February 2025, the Scams Prevention Framework, SPF, was approved by the Australian Parliament. The Scams legislation bill was passed. SPF, the Scams Prevention Framework, has been referred to as the world's first and the toughest scam legislation. It's clearly a significant milestone in Australia's fight against scams, creating new obligations for banks, telecommunication providers, and digital platforms, while introducing potential penalties of up to $50 million for non-compliance. I know similar initiatives remain in flight globally. Next one, please, Nathan. And last but not the least, global AI regulation is evolving rapidly, or I should say continues to evolve rapidly, with the EU leading through its Comprehensive AI Act, as many of you would be across it, which categorizes AI systems by risk levels and imposes strict requirements. Common themes as you read the trends in this space globally, they include ethical AI principles, transparency requirements, privacy protection, and risk-based governance frameworks. The enforcement mechanisms can vary. In Australia, APRA's guidance, as outlined in APRA member Therese McCarthy-Hockey's remarks to the FIA Risk Summit 2024, offers a clear pathway for adoption of AI, ML, and generative AI technologies by APRA regulated entities. Next slide, please, Nathan. So here in this slide, I have included several useful AWS resources that provide guidance on implementing responsible AI, strengthening AML KYC controls and solutions, navigating CPS 230 requirements through the CPS 230 workbook that I mentioned earlier, and building digital public infrastructure around trusted digital identity frameworks, payment rails, payment modernizations, and so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, regulators around the world are consistent in their mission to lower the regulatory compliance burden, manage risks, and support innovation. Regulatory technologies, or RegTechs, play a crucial role in bringing cutting-edge solutions to address regulatory compliance needs. Today, you will see a diverse range of cutting-edge solutions designed to solve real-world regulatory compliance challenges across industries, from financial services to healthcare. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and our presenters will respond throughout the event. And once again, a reminder to our presenters that you have 5 minutes. I am your timekeeper. At the 4-minute, 30-second mark, I will turn my camera on to let you know it's time to wrap it up. And so first up, APLYiD. The stage is yours.
Amazing. Thanks, Saket. Thank you, Nathan, for putting on such a good show. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Toby Taylor, our Australian GM from APLYiD. We solve many regulatory challenges, but specifically in the AML and CTF space. So today, just quickly going to cover off a little bit about the typical challenges we solve, a new solution we've launched to help our clients in this space, and not much more. We only have 5 minutes. So without further ado, Nathan, if you could please go to the next slide. So look, a tiny bit about who we are first before kicking into what we do. So we are a New Zealand-based company, founded in 2018 to help navigate businesses through the what's called tranche 2 here that was just mentioned, but phase 2 AML reforms. We, for longer than this, have been in the identity and AML space in other businesses, but saw a huge problem with this newly regulated, relatively SME space, real estate lawyers and accountants who had to understand how to comply with AML legislations, but didn't have the means, the know-how, the budgets to access this banking grade tech that was currently in market. So we repositioned our banking grade offering for that sector and space. We since then have evolved to, across New Zealand, Australia, and the UK, support more than 1,000 brands with mostly AML compliance, but that very much ties into fraud prevention and customer onboarding as well. So that's what our solutions are built around. The way that our product is built, I suppose our ethos is to have the absolute best possible solution there is for our customers. And to do that is not to hire 1,000 developers in our mind, it's to build the house, build the plumbing, and that is our platform, and then to leverage the best of breed tech from around the world, which varies depending on the different jurisdictions that we play in, and build solutions for our customers that will help their needs by doing that. On to the next slide, please. The typical challenges we solve, I love this first line we use internally. Compliance, look, it's chaos even in an enterprise business. Step yourself into the shoes of somebody who doesn't have budgets and a team, and it's just thrown to somebody who isn't a full-time compliance representative. It is more than chaos. So typically where our real sweet spot is and where the value we provide is those businesses who haven't had compliance executives for 20 years and aren't as well versed and need the support to get through the regulations. We do that by, I guess, harnessing this enterprise grade banking tech, but positioning in a way that makes it accessible for all. And this isn't just for SMEs, it's often for very large, global enterprise businesses that are dipping their toes in the water of this. A great way of testing it out. Ultimately, those solutions lead to fast and frictionless onboarding while complying with AML CTF regulatory challenges. And with so many changes to the laws, whether it be the recent New Zealand reforms, which hardly even get spoken about because the Australian one's coming up, small changes in the UK, we'll have 7th AMLD soon, all these different things. We're very well versed in across it and help our clients navigate these because we have the in-house compliance means to do so, which they maybe do not have. So it's not that we're a consulting business in that sense, but we I guess, tap that onto our technology layer. Onto the next slide, please. And then look, how are we innovating? There are many, many, many KYC AML companies that do an incredible job in this market, and it is such a big market that there can be a lot in there. So it's all about constantly evolving to support our customers. And a recent product we've built is our fraud analytics tool, which obviously adds to the overall risk portfolio for a customer to onboard or not within your AML requirements. Our fraud tool here uses MasterCard's eCarta network to basically take data that we contribute and thousands of other organizations contribute to look for velocity abuse, look for discrepancies in data. Has my name been submitted with a different email address before? These sorts of red flags. Look at the age of profiles. How long has the email existed? Was the phone created a day ago, a year ago? Have we seen these things before? It's a lot of complex matching in there, and things that even our product team at first didn't understand, let alone some clients. So our job with all these tools is that final bullet point there. Simplify what isn't simple. If a lot of organizations were signing up to these sorts of products, they wouldn't know how to tie it into existing platforms that they have and wouldn't know how to really make decisions. Our job is to take it all and do exactly what we do. Low risk, high risk, pass, fail is typically it. So that's it largely from us today, because I think we're at the 5-minute barrier. There's one final slide showing the proof that this really does work for our customers, be it onboarding, be it fraud prevention, many different mechanisms. But look, thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you for giving us the time, and any questions, anything you'd like to see, RegTech Association have the details and I'll pop them in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toby. Next up is nTrustus.
Hi everyone, I'm Ross, the founder of nTrustus. We're a relatively new RegTech solution for complaints handling. I work in the NDIS space, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which is a very human-centred environment. It's all about privately delivered frontline government services, supporting 680,000 participants and 170,000 providers. Originally, we'd built a complaints platform for the financial services industry in response to new regulations from ASIC, the corporate regulator. Our approach to scalability caught the attention of the NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commission, essentially the ASIC and an ombudsman combined for the NDIS. Next slide, please, Nathan. In 2022, we piloted our two-sided platform with the Commission, which led to a federal government grant to co-design with disability stakeholders and roll the platform out for NDIS providers nationwide. The Commission was looking for a way to handle low-level complaints more effectively, complaints that don't necessarily need their direct intervention. The key objectives of the grant were helping participants self-advocate and supporting providers with best practice complaints handling. As part of this, we collaborated with the University of Technology, Sydney, to include a little bit of Gen AI and large language models into our workflows, but in an assistive way, not as a decision maker. Next slide, please, Nathan. We officially launched the grant-funded platform just before Christmas 2024. I'll now show you how it works, how we guide participants to make and submit complaints, and on the other side, guide and help providers in responding effectively. Next slide, please, Nathan. Making a complaint can be overwhelming. Where do you even start? There's also a fear factor, especially for those who struggle with English. Our AI complaint assistant helps by asking just 3 simple questions in a participant's own words. It then tidies up spelling, grammar, and phrasing so complaints are clear, strong, and more likely to be heard. Here's an example of a participant who opts in for little help. Next slide, thanks, Nathan. The assistant drafts a concise response based on their input, making the process less daunting. This boosts confidence and empowers participants to self-advocate. And I should point out that it's entirely optional. We can still, it'll still produce a summary if the participants still use their own words. Next slide, thanks, Nathan. Once the AI refines a response, it's automatically placed into the form and the participant can move on to the next step. Next slide, Nathan. Now, for providers, we wanted to bring best practice guidelines to life in a practical, hands-on way. Reading manuals and guidelines is one thing, seeing them in action is another. So we developed My Response Assistant. It provides real-time dynamic advice based on the 4A framework: answer, action, acknowledge, apology. Unlike static guidance, it adapts to each complaint and response, using large language models in the background to generate context-aware suggestions. Let's take a look how that works. Next slide, thanks, Nathan. Here's an example of a poorly drafted response. It doesn't meet best practice standards. It says, "Thank you for your message. We reviewed your concerns but find no issues with our cleaning." Next slide, thanks, Nathan. So, My Response Assistant evaluates that answer against the 4A framework and provides feedback. And you can see here that response was graded accordingly. After following the suggestions to improve it, the response is now strong and aligned with best practice. Adults learn best by doing, and this tool speeds up learning and reduces the time needed to coach staff. Next slide, thanks, Nathan. That's a quick overview of what we've built. If you'd like to chat or see more, here are my contact details. I'd be happy to connect. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ross. Next up, we have DHI-AI.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Saket, and thank you, Nathan. I'm Ken Rodrigues, co-founder and CEO of DHI-AI. We are a purpose-driven AI company, and we're based in Melbourne, founded in 2020. Now, if you can move to the next slide, Nathan. What we do is essentially, there's so much data out there to consider. How do we know what is noise? How do we know what is relevant? How do we know what to consider? So we help to solve these complex problems with our AI solution. And on the right, you'll see a snapshot of some of our client engagements that we have. Now, if you move to the next slide, Nathan, I will take you through a challenge that we have recently completed with a market regulator and how we've used our solution to address that challenge. So with this particular challenge, there were so many data points that were in play. Some of it had to be looked at manually, and there was somewhat of a swivel chair approach where they had to look at multiple tools to reach a conclusion. So our solution was to bring in all that data, disclosures, news, media into the fray and use smart AI technologies to prioritize what is important that needs to be addressed today. So this ultimately reduced time to analyze it and to get to the evidence and conclusion quicker. Now, I'll take you through how we've done it in a few snapshots. Nathan, you can move to the next slide. And essentially, one of the methods of doing this is investigation prioritization. So the way we started by doing this was, first of all, alerts and warnings. We have all these companies, and which companies have an alert and warning today, and it's prioritized based on which companies needed attention first. And it's prioritized based on the criticalness, so they can actually choose what they need to look at and what needs immediate attention. But what happens in the background and how we get to this point, Nathan, if you can move to the next slide, is we use agentic workflows, so agents, AI agents, to review disclosures, to run jobs and industry news and company news, to look for anomalies and to look for attributes that's going to inform us that this is something that needs to be looked at. And it brings these relevant documents up for further investigation with some LLM generated summaries and also with links to avoid any hallucination. And then what happens if you move to the next slide is that it all collates up to a master agent that generates the conclusion and explains why is this important for me to look at today. And this conclusion will actually inform the person, the analyst, to say, this is important, And this is a timeline of events that's led to this conclusion. So essentially, it's also a way to reduce all these false positives because it explains away the alerts. Now, there are other ways that we have actually approached this as well. And if you move to the next slide, another way to prioritize investigation is we are able to compare companies against its peers and against other companies, because some companies, like you can't compare Rio Tinto with a smaller mining company, of course. So we list all the companies together and we compare against the anomaly score against its peers, and we can see that trend over time, because sometimes a company might be okay, but after a certain point, that anomaly tend to spike up. Now we can dig deeper into that as you go to the next slide, Nathan. When you dig deeper into the company, you can get all the repository of the information, all the disclosures in one spot, so you can investigate that. And you can also see any anomaly trends of that particular company, along with its risk score. And so that really drills down a bit deeper into the company itself. And finally, if you move to the next slide, we can see and drill down into the disclosure itself. So this is the lower level of it in the disclosure. Where are the anomalies? And we have an LLM or somewhat a ChatGPT to interrogate the document itself. So for example, show me in this 1,000-page document where it talks about new contracts or any new production capacity that I need to look at. And it will return the answer along with any specific attributes that you look at. So finally, if you move to the last slide, the results of this was really prioritizing investigation so that we can take quick action and know what to look at first. Now, what I've told you is really about companies and markets, but it could essentially be any other kind of data. It could be asset data, it could be documents, could be audit opinions, which we're looking at next. But essentially, that all wraps up into prioritization of investigation. Handing back to you, Saket. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next up is Bluline Technologies.
Thanks, Saket, and thanks, Nathan. My name's Aidan Carlton, and I'm one of the founders of Bluline, and we do remediation automation. So we can skip to the next slide, thanks. So what is remediation? It gets thrown around quite a lot. The top context we're talking about here is really correcting the financial harm by financial institutions caused to their customers, which sounds quite simple, right? If you charge a fee that's incorrect, just refund that fee to the customer. But unfortunately, it gets a lot more complicated than that. Can we skip to the next slide? Thanks. So I've listed some of the complications here. I'm not going to go through them in detail. You can have a look at them if you want. But effectively, it rolls down to a couple of key areas. One is that some of these customers haven't had a banking relationship with the institution for a while, and their relationship, the nature of the relationship has changed over that time. And also the types of calculations and the types of harm that's been experienced by the customer could be quite complex. Like, for example, if you have a fee that's been charged, well, there might be knock-on fees, interest rates to make sure that we make the customer whole. We need to make sure that we pay back the full amount, including interest, and that can change over time. So if we skip to the next slide, ultimately that means that remediation isn't done really well within Australia, and there's quite a lot of issues out there. Maybe we just skip to the next slide. Particularly, we see a lot of headlines where there are fines issued out due to remediation issues and delays in getting the remediation solved. But ultimately, this means that there's a significant distrust that's built up between the customer and the financial institution. Next slide, thanks. So what Bluline does is provide an end-to-end remediation solution. So it's a modular design that can be picked and choose for the aspects that are needed on a case-by-case basis. But it covers the full life cycle of remediation. So we divide that into enrichment, lodgement, and completion. If we talk about enrichment, we're really talking about a lot of the calculation and determining who is eligible to receive customer remediation payments. That means things like determining the transaction level harm, the withholding tax impacts that might have, compensating interest, whatever might need to be done to make sure that we do remediate the full amount of the impact. But once we've figured out how much is owed for a particular customer, you need to determine who is actually owed that money and who is to communicate to. So there are a number of third-party data checks that need to take place. We need to determine some of these customers may have passed away in the intervening time. So you need to do deceased checks, fraudulent checks, frozen assets, deregistration checks, things like that, to ensure that we've got the right person that we're addressing communications to and we're addressing payments to. Hopefully we are paying the customer back directly, but that payment could also go to ASIC, the ATO, it could go to charity on behalf of the customer, and that payment is executed through the Bluline platform. And also we render and generate communications, emails, SMSs and letters directly to the customer or the representative that needs to be communicated to. And then there are a subset of customers that will not be able to be paid directly back. They don't have an existing relationship with the bank. So we do provide a digital portal which customers can log into, provide payment instructions to make sure that they receive those funds. We also provide adherence to RG 277 for reasonable efforts. That means we do automated email and SMS follow-ups to make sure that the customer is aware that there is a remediation payment owed to them. So if we can just skip to the next slide. So we've been quite successful in implementing this change. We've rolled this out into one of the largest banks in Australia, and it's resulted in significant savings for them. And also we've remediated over multiple millions of customers now, with tens of millions of dollars in remediation payments being executed. Next slide, thanks. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present here. We'd love to chat with you if you've got any more questions. This is a really brief overview. It's quite a complex environment, so happy to reach out and have a chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Aidan. And we'll go to Cube next.
Thanks, Saket. Hi, my name is Alex Dawson. I'm the Customer Executive Head for Asia Pac at Cube and a fellow RegTech Association Director as well. Next slide, please, Nathan. We'll start by outlining the Cube difference. So Cube has a suite of modular-based products which can scale with your organization. And our solutions help organizations rethink how compliance is managed to deliver operational benefits. The breadth and depth of our regulatory content is unrivaled in the market, and we were excited to reinforce this position through our recent acquisition of the Thomson Reuters and RegTech businesses. Across our product suite, we take regulatory data from thousands of sources in unstructured formats and languages, and then using both our AI and over 100 expert humans in the loop, we capture and enrich this content into actionable intelligence. And we deliver it to you via a single platform, which can be integrated into your GRC system. And this difference has led to us being trusted by many of the largest banks and regulators across the globe to deliver automated regulatory intelligence. Next slide, please. So what exactly do we do? So we help regulated entities to meet the most demanding compliance requirements by optimizing their business processes with our AI, with our industry subject matter experts and our automation capabilities. And I'll cover just 3 of our key modules to bring this to life. So horizon scanning. Obviously, customers want to avoid missing a key regulatory development, and we help manage this risk by providing horizon scanning at scale. And we enable easy access to all of your forward-looking regulatory content like speeches, consultations, drafts, etc., in a structured online readable format. And we also filter out the noise by helping customers to build their profile of relevant jurisdictions, product services, and content types at a very granular level so that they can focus on key areas and value-adding activities. Then we move on to regulatory inventory management. So obviously, global regulatory content is vast, it's always changing, and it has become near impossible to collect and process this volume of data manually. So Cube helps your team stay compliant with the latest regulations in all countries by making every rule, law, regulation, standard code easy to navigate and manage. We then identify every instance of new content or amendments or repeals of existing content to maintain the currency of that inventory. And that includes system notifications and a full audit trail of those changes. We automatically classify all of our content and every regulatory announcement using our own reg ontology, and we map this to your taxonomies. And this allows you to filter and search using your own. And finally, obligations management. So we know that it's inefficient to manage obligations without a single register or across multiple Excel spreadsheets, for example, without that complete and accurate view and no audit trail. So Cube allows you to group together similar regulatory content from multiple sources in a dynamic register, and then link this to your downstream policies and controls for management. And this helps customers manage reg change, but also identify areas for consolidation, for example, due to overlapping requirements from multiple regulatory sources. And the groups can be unlimited. They can be arranged in hierarchical models to structures to model your very complex organizational structure, and they're fully versioned and permission controlled. Next slide, please, Nathan. So that's what we do, but a key component of our customer success stories lies in how we do it. I mentioned the Cube difference, and this is another area in which we're seen to be different. So at Cube, we believe in using experts from industry for the industry, and I'm joined on this call today by my colleague Diggy. Between us, we share 27 years of industry experience. And at Cube, our customers always come first, and we invest heavily in achieving excellence in customer onboarding. We're proud to maintain a strong track record. And the reason that we see this as important is the better the onboarding, the faster the return on investment for our customers. So we focus on ensuring customers have the right coverage and the skills to manage the platform efficiently, optimize your business models, and gain confidence in a move away from manual processes without compromising the quality of compliance. And our customer retention rates and growing customer base is testament to this. Next slide, please. So that was a very, very quick overview of our solution. I'm going to end with this snapshot, which outlines some key highlights in our growth story. We're obviously very happy to continue the discussion or arrange a demo to any interested parties. But thank you for your time, and we'll provide details to contact us. Thanks, Saket. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you, Alex. Deloitte is next.
Saket. Hi, everybody. My name's Simon. I'm a director in the Deloitte Data and Digital team. While more broadly, we support many clients with data, AI, and technology challenges. I'm here today to talk to you about Payment Times Reporting Scheme and our digital solution that supports reporting under this scheme. Next slide, please. So this is the hot topic at the moment because it's currently going through an overhaul. Somewhat the regulator has described it as a major overhaul. So a bit of background to the scheme is that it did come out and get passed through government in 2021, and it was asking large businesses to report on how quickly they pay small businesses from 2021 in 6-month reporting periods. Where we're at the moment is the scheme went through a review in 2023, found it wasn't meeting its objectives, and therefore they have gone through this major overhaul and reset the requirements that large businesses must now meet. What that means is ultimately from a data perspective, it's more requirements, more transactions, higher volume, and an increased complexity in the reporting metrics that must be calculated and sent to the regulator. In addition, they've brought in new accountability measures. So the part of the review and the objectives found that the payment performance from large businesses had not improved over the period of the 3 years that the scheme had been in place. And therefore, they brought in the slow payer and fast payer accountability measures in the aim of take responsibility from these large businesses and how quickly they pay small businesses. We've seen the regulator have a real attention on increased compliance, so those that aren't up to date with their submissions, or improving the quality of reporting, and they are measuring that through the accuracy and the actual metrics that get submitted to them. The risk of play is the risk of financial penalties. So the legislation does outline financial penalties that can be applied in 3 areas of late reporting, inaccurate reporting, or no documentation. Next slide, please. What we see within the market and with many of our clients is quite a painful process to get from raw data to reporting metrics and submission to the regulator. Many of our clients, before we engage with them, does feel like that individual in the middle of the wheel, where every 6 months they have to go through these steps in order to meet the requirements and what the regulator is asking. From 4 to 10 is really a heavily data-driven process. And within that, there is a lot of data handling, data transformation and validation steps that must be undertaken in order to get from raw data through to the final metrics that do go to the regulator. What we see then that finds with all that then means for a lot of clients is unreliable data, a lack of trust in their data, a lot of manual effort going into providing and reporting under this scheme, and just generally a lack of efficiency and trust across reporting. At Deloitte, next slide, please, Nathan. At Deloitte, we've built a digital solution called Fair Payment, which really brings efficiency and repeatability to the process. So while digitizing the whole reporting and data process to for PTRS, it also allows reviewers and approvers to understand the visibility, the performance that does get made publicly available, that any large businesses or small businesses can access and see, helps to provide visibility, but also trust as to what my decisions, what assumptions, my handling of the data, and how can I gain validity and trust that I have moved my data through those steps efficiently and smoothly. In the next slide, please, Nathan. So what our solution means for that individual who was previously head on the desk in a painful place, having to report twice a year to PTRS, is a much simpler, smoother steps from the data perspective. So you can see those data steps from 4 to 8 have been streamlined. They have been reduced through the digitization of the process, bringing in dashboards and validity and visibility to the whole process, which takes away the risk that we see for businesses, helps them gain trust, and helps them gain trust in what is reported and made publicly available. And it also helps them from a capacity perspective. So it takes away that manual process that might take days or even weeks to go through from a data perspective into a really simple, ideally kind of few clicks of the buttons to upload it into our platform, run it through the necessary validations and adjustments that need to happen within the data to get to a reporting output that can go to the regulator. Next slide, please, Nathan. So please contact me for a demo if payment times reporting is something on your radar and you're across these latest changes and overhaul of the system. We're happy to provide a demo or any further information. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. And our final presentation for the session today from InsiteMY.
Thanks, Saket and Nathan. My name is Tim. Good evening, everyone. I'm from InsiteMY. Today I was sharing a reporting solution platform called InReport. That is a regulatory reporting platform for FI and also the enterprise data. Next slide, please. If you have experience to implement a regulatory reporting project, there is always a challenge for a project implementation because that is very time critical and also come with the unclear specification, and the user is always worried about the penalty of the non-compliant risk. For the IT department, and they also very hard is because of they need to obtain a lot of data from their sources, different data sources, and also they worry about the data quality at all when they're generating the report. Next slide, please. So our reporting product, InReport, actually is a product we are particularly designed for a large organization to automate their reporting and consolidating, validating, and submitting a million of records across a multiple systems seamlessly. So even you have a lot of data to handle for the reporting generation, our product will be able to help you to fulfill the reporting timeline on time. Next slide, please. How can InReport product can be to help on this is because we have a few key engines to effectively implement it to help you on the implementation of the regulatory reporting. First, we have the integration engine and also the RPA automation engine to help you to integrate it with all the source systems seamlessly from the data source. So all the data can source, go into your database and store into the data mart engine. And secondly, this data mart engine will be able to actually serve a different reporting purpose. And the main key differentiate module we have in here is a regulation rule engine, which can store all the pre-built regulation rules that we can learn from all this year. So all this regulation rule engine is already have all the rules there. So you don't need to rebuild the whole engine again when you implement a regulation reporting project. Next slide, please. By looking on the diagram here, this is our product roadmap, and the green boxes here is all the regulation rule module we already have off the shelf. So you can see that there is a credit reporting, Basel 2 and 3, and ESG reporting and e-invoicing. All this is already rebuilt that we only need to customize on certain minimum extent when we actually help you to implement the project there for the bank. Next slide, please. So this is one of the use case we actually recently happened to Malaysia. We helping our customer to meet their regulatory timeline for the e-invoice deadline. So we have 28 customer actually cut line the system within 8 to 10 weeks time. We integrated a lot of data sources and 83 million transactions have been processed. And normally all the project implementation timeline is about 8 to 10 weeks time. Next slide, please, Nathan. So for the in-report, we are very confident that we can lower risk down your compliance reporting when we are using our platform. Next slide, please. Thank you for that. If you want to know more about our product and platform, you can reach us out via the QR code here, or maybe you can email me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kai-Thim. What a fabulous set of solutions. I want to thank all our presenters. If you would like to watch any of the presentations again, keep an eye on your inbox. The recording will be sent out tomorrow. And if you are interested in connecting with any of these fabulous organizations, fabulous RegTechs, just reach out to the RTA team. They would be very happy to make an introduction. And we would appreciate it if you could take a moment to please complete the satisfaction poll on your screens now. Your feedback helps us really improve these programs and continue to raise the bar on how we deliver future programs for you. Before we close, I would like to mention just a couple of points, a couple of upcoming events. Firstly, Accelerate RegTech Global APAC is on 8th of April in Sydney, which is just around the corner. The RTA are thrilled to welcome Brendan Thomas, the CEO of AUSTRAC, as keynote speaker, and we will be crowning the winners of the 2025 APAC Region RegTech Awards. This event also kicks off with 3 exclusive roundtables on regulatory matters, fraud and scams, and AI and quantum. Seats are extremely limited and available only to conference ticket holders on a first-come, first-served basis. RegTech Edge No Borders will be back on 1st of May, focusing on financial crime solutions. And finally, the RTA has partnered with FinTech Marketplace, giving RTA members exclusive opportunities to showcase the expertise and position their brand as a thought leader in fraud and scams, emerging technologies, and more. There will, of course, be more events scheduled soon, so keep an eye on the RT website and subscribe to the mailing list to stay up to date. With that, I want to thank you all for attending our program today. Thank you once again to our presenters, and we hope to see you at another event soon. Take care.